Gonna start a new series called Equibituary. It's not obituary, these people aren't dead. They made the news or caught my attention in some way. I'm doing some research and finding more about them. Comes to some realizations. Equi for equivalent, equinox, midway, shall we say, a turning point in their life. Today's person will be Anthony Levandowski, formerly known of Google, Waymo, Uber, Pronto. Don't know what he's up to now. Recently charged criminally. He came to the public attention a few years ago. He had gone from Google's self-driving car division Waymo to Uber, and Google claimed that he stole a lot of their secrets. It was a big deal because Google is not known for filing lawsuits. If he did something, it must be really bad. He said a month before he left, he downloaded an awful lot of files related to LiDAR, and he did the exact same thing when he was at Uber's self-driving car division. They saw a lot of similarities between the way Uber's car drove and the way Google's did. Thought it had to be because it was from the same source. They settled. Uber fired him. Don't know the background. He obviously wasn't poor. And now he's in the news again because the Justice Department filed a lawsuit, criminal charges against him for stealing intellectual property. The thing is, who is this guy? I was wondering, is he somebody like Elizabeth Holmes? Full of fluff, sweet talker, with no actual substance? Maybe intelligent in the social sense, but not in the engineering IQ sense. But as I looked up more about him, I realized, no, this is a hardworking guy who is very smart as well. No wonder he gets hired and co-founds many companies, because he knows what he's talking about. He has a lot of expertise in self-driving cars. IEEE Spectrum and Magazine for Engineers, Electro, I guess, specifically, talked about him. They talked about Ghostwriter. They did some research. It was the self-driving motorcycle that he made for the DARPA challenge. The Department of Defense has an advanced research program where they get people to compete, and a self-driving course through the desert is the main competition. Usually nobody actually makes it. I don't know about recently, maybe somebody did. This was a decade or so ago though. And he and a bunch of people at Berkeley decided to make a self-driving motorcycle. That seems silly, right? Car at least could balance. A motorcycle? Not so much. They talked about how he did it. How he was the hardest working out of anybody on the team. I always wondered about that, as an off note, because there are many people whose names are on things and they take credit for it, but they're not actually the ones who are essential. For example, on many papers published in journals, the principal author may or may not be the essential person. There's an author that's a correspondent author. I'm not sure where it goes, and that's someone that's important. But it's sort of like a producer for a film. They get the funding together. They may not be the person who directs the art, who determines what direction the film goes. When I was at Berkeley, we had to do teamwork, projects are too big to just be done by one person. Sometimes people did awfully little. They spoke a lot. The teacher, who didn't know anything, obviously doesn't know, who actually put the time in, he thought this one guy did an awful lot of work. He actually did not much. I was the only one there at my group of 4 who was there through the Thanksgiving weekend. Other people could vouch for me because they were there all the time as well. But that's the thing. Whether you get credit for something, whether you actually did something, they're two separate matters. But this is a guy who worked the hardest about anybody in the group. He was smart. He put in the work. I guess it makes sense why he's so successful. And I guess that's where my question is. What's wrong with this guy? Why is he getting charged criminally? You know, most engineers don't get charged criminally. I don't know of anyone that has. It's not a very common thing. Most engineers actually have very good principles, I would say. It's the whole mad scientist thing is pretty real. Sometimes they get caught up and do stuff that's sort of illegal, sort of unethical. But I would say generally they know what's right and wrong. For the greater good is not something I would say an engineer is known to do. Scientists may do that. You hear about them thinking that, gonna help people by gene editing this or that, and they create a mutant and they think, oh, it's all necessary. Some people have to sacrifice, shall we say. I don't think engineers think that way. I could say this having gone to school with them and worked with them. So what went wrong with this guy? What made him think he could just take all these documents? Is it because he thought he deserves it? It belongs to him? He's the one who put all these things together? Even though Google may have paid him millions of dollars, it's still his rights, his ideas, his baby. Or is it because he thought, well, Uber would thank me for this. It's going to give us a head start. In the engineering field, time is of the essence. We all know you can't make a perfect project if you have unlimited time, limited resources. But to be so egregious, how? Why? He said his motto was Bill Gates. Did Bill Gates steal from other people? That's a very good question. Stealing. Ideas? Are they patentable? Or maybe he just didn't think it was wrong. Ideas are ideas, right? Nobody owns them. The problem is we don't actually know how he thinks, and we'll never know. But we can investigate when somebody does something that seems off for them. What happened? It's a complicated topic.